to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Welcome back to the RunRX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach, we have the next immersion is open and ready for people to join. Some people, we've got some questions, so I'm going to ask you the questions, and hopefully we can get some answers that will alleviate. Some of these are on the website, but sometimes it's easier to just kind of hear Valerie explain it. The biggest one that I think we're going to get from this group is, if I wasn't in the virtual clinic that you just did this last week, is it still okay for me to join the immersion, even though I don't know what you did during this last week?
Yes, and 100%. So the best part of the immersion is it's really starting you with day one practice. So day one is going to be your day one. And also remember, I'm wherever you are. So I'm always going to be with you on the journey where you are. So we're starting you really on day one. Even if you came to the clinic, you're still starting on day one. And so everyone's really starting pretty much in the same spot.
Right. And part of that day one, whether you were in the clinic or not, we have an option when you come through the virtual clinic to get your run analyzed. But a lot of people don't take advantage of that. But if you join the immersion, we actually include that. So you're really actually getting that opportunity for you to watch them run right off the bat. And you encourage that, right? You want that gait analysis almost before they start the work?
Yes. So exactly. So the fun part for you is when you come into the immersion, you'll get to see, you send me your run. So even as you're getting started, you're going to get direct feedback on you and your run and what you need to work on. So you're going to, whether you take the clinic or you're coming in without taking the clinic, you're going to get the same benefit of that.
Yeah, definitely. So what if I'm injured though, Valerie? What if maybe I've got a little niggle that's happening in my foot? Maybe I actually have a full-blown knee injury. Can I still do the immersion if I can't run?
Yes, you can do the immersion. Here's something that's really interesting. When you're learning something, especially a movement like running, where you've been running your whole life, you're actually almost better off not being able to run when you're practicing. And that sounds so counterintuitive. However, it's like anything else. The more time you spend with the learning and even understanding, it's a mindset that goes with it as well, because you're learning a movement. And so much of our practice in the beginning is static practice. So you can do it standing. We even have modifications that you can do it seated if you can't be weight bearing. You can also, there's strength exercises that are even laying down. So there's so many movements you can start to do. And if you're doing this while you recover, then what's going to happen is not only you have to have that time of recovery anyway, and you're not going to sit perfectly still. I mean, you're going to move. Right. So as you're working on your movement for RunRX, what you're going to find actually is going to help you in all of your movement, because we do work on strength training for the foot, for the hip, right? For the functional muscles you need for your run, for the hamstring. So a lot of these movements you're going to find will actually help in your recovery also. Then, of course, once you are running, you're going to know what to do to start your run.
Okay. So what if I already have a race on the books? We're coming, this is now May. Maybe I've got a race coming up in September or even July. There are a couple rock and rolls in July. There's not a lot in August, but should I be messing with my technique if I'm actually training for some sort of a half or something like that going, towards the latter half of the year?
So I'm going to answer that in two ways. So one is it an A race? Is this the race, your race of the year? If it is, I would say I would give myself at least, I'd give myself at least 3 months before an A race. If it's just a race that you sign up, you do all the time, and it's just, more for fun, then it's no problem. However, just realize, especially if you're not injured, for a lot of people when they come in, it's still learning a new movement. So you're going to feel different. It's not how you've been running. So you're going to have to remember that there's a little bit of a learning. That's why we do the immersion. It's a 4-week immersion. So in that 4 weeks, you're going to be working on your movement. So it wouldn't be the best time to train for an event. So that's my answer. If you've already signed up and it's, like I said, it's just a race you're doing for fun, absolutely fine. However, if it's your race of the year, then I would wait till after the race.
Okay. So what about during the immersion? We have quite a few people that run along with the immersion. Like they'll do what you ask them to do for that day, and then they'll still go out and do a couple miles of running. Do you encourage that? Do you say don't do that? What are your thoughts on training or running above and beyond what you want us to do in the 28 days?
Right. So this is also an individual thing. However, the best results are going to come with focused practice.
Right.
So that's our goal is we really, really encourage you to do timed practice, not like timed speed, but go out for practice instead of thinking I'm going to lose fitness if I don't get my mileage in.
Right.
So
right.
We very much recommend to replace the run that you're doing currently with these practices, and you'll be running. You're not going to lose anything.
Yeah.
So for some people, though, I understand they still go out and do their running and then they just implement the practice. So my answer is going to be, especially because when you're doing the immersion, you check in. So we'll actually be able to have a conversation about that. And it's going to really, your progress will tell you.
Yeah.
So yes, we would rather you just do practice for the beginning. And so, like I said, but we know some of you guys will still go running.
Yeah.
So my main thing is as long as you're not injured and it's not affecting your progress.
Right. Right. And we get it, guys. You set aside, you're used to setting aside, say, an hour and a half, getting to and from the track or whatever, meeting with your friends. And now suddenly the work she's having you do on those first few days is only 20 or maybe even 30 minutes. And you feel like it's not enough. But kind of, I was just talking to a recent student that was running into problems because she felt like it wasn't enough and she wasn't able to get past her injury. So I said, well, but what if it is enough? So that's kind of what I want you to maybe think about as you come in is focus on what we're asking you to do. It's not going to be long. It's those shorter workouts where you save a little time, you get a little time back, as the saying goes, they don't last long. I don't even think it's past day 3 or 4. So you get a couple days, but then you're right back into your normal routine. It's just with set drills and set things we want you to do. Does that sound right, or am I oversimplifying it?
No, it's right. It's just to understand that I have to first understand that I'm learning a movement. So you're going to have a running practice. So that's going to feel very strange in the beginning. So we get that. But realize, yes, you're going to go right back to your running and right back. And if you're doing other things, you can still do your other things.
And most people, yeah.
Well, if you're, say you're a triathlete and you're doing swimming, you're already swimming and biking. So you're going to still be swimming and biking. If you do we have some people that love strength training. So they do boot camps, they do CrossFit. We're not taking any of that away from you. What we're asking is just to replace your current runs in the beginning with practice, with run practice, and be okay with it's going to feel a little bit different. Because it's something new, but by the time you're through the immersion, you'll be fine. You'll be running, all that good stuff. If you're not injured, right? If you have an injury, we don't want, if you're injured, please don't run. You're injured. Do the practice. And it's not just running practice. Remember, we also have, the skill practice. We also have the strength practice, and there's some self-care. So you're going to have plenty of things to do, and it's going to set you up for such a great training as you continue this, because forever and ever you're going to need to do a warm-up. And so this is putting you also in a good routine of how to set up your running.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one last question. What if we're in the US, we're in the central time zone, but we do have quite a few students we've got quite a few that are out of basically out of Australia. I think we had one New Zealand for a while. We've got quite a few students that are in Europe. So what happens if I'm in different time zones? Does that gonna, if I can't necessarily get on every Zoom, if I can't be on the lives when you're talking, is that gonna affect my progress? How do I do that?
Well, so the best part is we do try to vary the Zooms for that reason. So you should be able to find at least 2 that you can get on, because we rotate the schedule. So I do encourage the Zooms. The live, it's not important, because whenever you catch it, it's live to you. So on the lives, it's just me talking. So anytime you can catch it. The best part, though, this is the way to think about it. When you check in, so whether that's through an email that you ask a question, or you post on Facebook, when you send in your video, I'm only responding to you. So when I'm watching your check-in, when I'm watching your run and you get feedback, it's only about you and your movement. So that's the best part of this, because I'm with you on your journey. So if you can't be live on the Zoom, that's okay. Whenever you send in your check-in, I'm really focused on you and your movement. So that's the best part of this. You can reach out whenever you want. It's on your time, really. So that's kind of fun.
Okay, so we hope these have answered some of your questions. If we missed any, feel free to email support@runrx.fit. And if you like our podcast, if you want to join us, please subscribe. If you subscribe to our podcast and give us a 5-star review, that's how other people can find us. And of course, we would love to have you join us in the immersion. We would love to see you run and get you running pain-free. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.